Hi, everybody, and welcome to Beyond the Gates weekly recap. We are, sorry about that, week 30. This is another pivotal week in the best soap opera on television. And we had, a lot going on this week with, the show's first death of a major character, with Doug passing away in the car accident, which, of course, was not a car accident. It was, we'll get to that later. We've got a lot to talk about today. I think I've got five main talking points today. And then we'll get to the last 5 minutes of the show, where we will open the time capsule, open the vault, and we will talk about the ABC soap opera, Ryan's Hope. We will discuss that. We will go back and look back at that show at the end of this show. But let's get to Beyond the Gates now. Let's get to what's going on in Fairmount Crest. Okay. You might watch this for the first time and say, wow, this guy is loud. I come from a sports talk background, and we get a little passionate in sports, so I might get a little loud sometimes and yell and get emotional because of that. But so here we are in Fairmount Crest. All right. Smitty and Martin had some more problems this week because Samantha almost had sex with her, I don't know if he's her boyfriend, a guy from school, and Martin found out about it and got, pretty angry. But Martin said it was okay for her to go and talk to June. For anybody who doesn't know, Terelle and Samantha were adopted by Martin and Smitty. They were taken out of their mother's home because her mother had a drug problem and alcohol problem years earlier. I believe they said that Terelle was 10 and Samantha might have been like a year younger, so 10 and 9. And they were adopted by Smitty and Martin. And for years, they didn't know. Smitty and Martin didn't know who their mom was. And they didn't think they'd see her again, probably. So, but recently, June came back into their lives. Terrelle does not want anything to do with June. He remembers how bad things were when they were with her. So, but Samantha, being a girl, she would like to be able to talk to a woman. And so Martin, Smitty wasn't home. Martin made the decision to let Samantha go talk to June at Orphy Gene's, where June now has a job. She's cleaned up. She's working at Orphy Gene's, and Naomi got her the job there. So she went to talk to Samantha, and, they had a good talk. June wants to be in their lives. She wants to be positive in their life. Well, Smitty came home. Martin told him that Samantha was there. He got Smitty again, blew up, got mad, overreacted, I thought, in my mind. I thought he overreacted. But I think Smitty's worried that June's going to come back in their lives and they're not going to need them anymore, which is just stupid. That's just stupid. So, he lashes out at Martin again, oh, I'm the victim. You don't trust me. You lied to me again. Smitty's way too emotional for me. But, of course, Martin can be a whiner too. But, so what does Smitty do? He goes to Orphy Gene's and he rips into June. He sends Samantha home and then he rips into June. It was really crappy. It was really crappy what he did. June was okay. She recovered. She's fine. I guess she understood maybe with Smitty why he was there. But, Terrelle came home and he wasn't happy with Martin because Martin let Samantha go see June. But they got it all worked out, Martin and Terrelle, and him and Terrelle played a game of chess because they both said they were going to beat the crap out of each other in chess. And so they had a good game of chess. And, but I don't know. I think Martin is just he's too much of a whiner for me. I'm not Martin. I'm sorry, Smitty. I don't really like Smitty. But, here's one. The surprise marriage this week of Dani and Andre really wasn't a surprise because they were headed there last week. They were headed on a plane to Las Vegas last week at the end of the week. And I figured one of two things was going to happen. I said it on last week's show. One of two things was going to happen. The plane was either going to crash and there would be drama. Did they survive? Or I said they're going to go to Vegas, be drunk, and get married. And that's what happened. So Dani is now, I guess she's Dani Dupree, Hamilton, Williams. What is Ted's last name? I can't even remember. That's pretty bad. I cannot remember what Ted's last name. Richardson. There it is. I'm sorry. So Richardson. So we got, so Dani is now Dani Dupree, Hamilton, Richardson, or is Andre? Let's be honest, this is the Duprees, right? So is Andre Richardson Dupree or Andre Richardson Hamilton? I mean, let's face it. When you marry into the Duprees, you are a Dupree now. So, but I thought it was I thought it was funny how they had the Anita Dupree impersonator marry Dani and Andre. I thought that was pretty good. And, of course, the family got all together to deal with it, and they chastised Andre. They called Andre over and chastised him. They didn't call Dani over to lay into her about it. They called Andre over, which I thought was kind of interesting. So, he told them, Dani is working on getting an annulment right now. But once Dani realized that Bill was annoyed that she married Andre, Dani decided, well, why not? Why don't we just stay married for a little while longer? And Andre agreed. He agreed. He didn't fight her on this. Why not? Why not? She is she's Dani Dupree. I mean, Dani Dupree Hamilton. And why not? They're good in bed together, and they enjoy each other. So why not stay married a little while longer? I don't know what Dani's goal is here. I don't know if her goal is to attempt to get Bill back or just to annoy the hell out of him. I think she likes a little of both. She'd probably like to have him back, and I also think that she loves to annoy the hell out of him. Dani loves to annoy Bill. She enjoys it so much. So I think that's probably annoying him is probably more of a goal of Dani at this point than getting back with him. Of course, she would love to humiliate Haley. Let's be honest. But so near the end of today's show, Andre shows up at the hospital. I always think to myself, what is this guy doing at the hospital all the time? You know what I mean? Like, how annoying is that? Like, he just shows up at the hospital. But of course, he was there today to speak with Ashley about. He wanted to let her know that he married Dani, so she didn't hear it from someone else. But of course, she had already heard it from someone else. Her mom. Her mom, who basically said Andre was garbage anyway. So, but so he tried to convince her that, she shouldn't be with Derek and this marriage to Dani is just, not real. And I was very happy at the end when Ashley just flat out said to him, I don't want to hear it. And I don't want to talk about this again. I have to get back to work. I finally, Ashley's not whining. She's not crying. She's not second guessing her decision. She's sticking with her decision. Well, for now, until she finds out that Derek's had movement in his legs and hasn't told her. They settled into their apartment. It was nice. They, he gave her the ring. Naomi and Jacob were there when they got home, getting the apartment all fixed. So, adapted to Derek with since he's, paralyzed and in a wheelchair. But the fact he's not telling her is not going to end well. I mean, we know this. We know how Ashley is. She's just going to lose her mind when she finds out that Derek can move his legs. What's going to happen is, I think it's one of two people will end up telling Ashley. It's not going to be Jacob. Jacob's not going to do it. I think Shanice. It's either going to be Shanice or it's going to be either Shanice or it's going to be Andre that's going to tell Ashley that, Derek has feelings in his legs, and it's going to be by accident. Oh, I thought you knew, that's it's going to be one of those two are going to be the ones that do it. I don't see anybody else that would do it. Jacob's not going to be worrying about that now because right at the end we see in the previews that Naomi is going to have a baby. Naomi is pregnant, which is great. Maybe they'll show more than the bedroom in their house. I mean, that's the weirdest thing on soap opera TV that I've ever seen, that they only show their bedroom. It's really like crazy. But, I think that, I think Derek's making a real mistake by not telling Ashley. I think Ashley finally did realize that she loves him and she wants to stay with him. But if he's not going to be honest with her, I think she's going to, she's not going to trust him then if he's not going to trust her. And it's going to cause issues. And I think that Jacob was right when he got into him about it. I think that he's got to tell her now. Even now, he's had a feeling for a couple of weeks. Even now, she's probably going to get mad because let's face it, she's a little emotional, Ashley. But her character's become more likable in the recent last couple of weeks. So I would ask AI to put Ashley's picture back when I Google the Beyond the Gates cast. They can put her picture back now. They took it away. I guess they talked so bad about her on the show that AI decided that no, we won't show her picture because he doesn't like her. They can put it back now. Ashley has redeemed herself and is not as annoying. So a little bit here. I didn't have this scripted in my notes, but today, Leslie comes over, or as Peaches calls her, Dana came over, and she talked about. She gave her a check. Dana gave Peaches a check to help her with her health care and told her that she could move into her apartment. Leslie was going to stay in the room now at the hotel that Eva has been staying in, which is kind of odd. Where they just do a switch like that, which I don't understand. I guess this is going to be until Leslie's mansion across the street from the Duprees is finished. So, so that was nice of Dana slash Leslie to help Peaches out like that. And, that's, that was near the end today. So the twins are going to be introduced next week. Vanessa and Doug's twins are going to be introduced next week. They said the names. Vanessa said the names. But did not hear them. Looks like they'll be introduced to the show next week, the McBride twins. I'm sure they'll have the funeral for Doug next week. I did see the one of the twins was in one of the preview scenes going talking to Joey, and he might be a worse nightmare for Joey than Doug was. Joey killed his dad. And I think that it's going to come out eventually. And Joey probably will end up going to prison at some point. But the twins will be back next week because, recapping what happened was, Joey took Vanessa away on vacation. The night before they left, he told Marcel that he wanted the job done. And you knew something was going to happen, but you weren't sure what. I had said last week that I thought that Doug's life was in danger because he was just crazy. I thought he was going to commit suicide when he talked to Vanessa on the phone when she was in the Caribbean with Joey. But when he got so mad at her because, of course, Joey walked in the room and talked loud. He claims he didn't do it on purpose, but of course he did it on purpose. Of course Joey did it on purpose. Joey's a scumbag. He's a piece of crap. John Lindstrom plays the role well, though. I have to say that. He really does. But he's a piece of garbage. And he knew exactly what was going on. He knew that Vanessa was on the phone with Doug. He did. If he's saying that he didn't, that's ridiculous. Sorry about that. Oh, my goodness. Midday yawn. But so, morning comes and, Joey and Vanessa had their romantic night in the Caribbean. And Vanessa gets the phone call from Jacob that, Doug is dead. Doug's car went off the highway into a ravine, hit a tree, and caught on fire. So I don't know if that's going to be. I figure it will come out at some point that he wasn't killed that way. He was probably. I would have to think Marcel shot him, and then somehow the car went over the ravine. Because I don't think that that's how he died, unless he got him so drunk that he was passed out, and then they pushed the car over the cliff or something. But the sooner they get rid of Marcel, the happier I'll be. He's a filthy, dirty cop, and I just don't like him. Man, that guy is a creep. He's just a rotten person. And so I think, I did like that Vanessa, she said, did you have something to do with this? Was it really an accident? And then, of course, Joey, conned her, and she fell for it, and she said, she was sorry for accusing him. Well, no, she'll realize at some point that he did it. And I think Jacob's going to investigate it too. Because, Jacob's always suspicious of anything that involves Marcel. And so Marcel reportedly is retiring. He told Joey today. And he was going to leave for the Caribbean, but now Joey wants him to stay. Look, if I was Marcel, I'd get the hell out of Fairmount Crest as fast as I can. Because he's never going to escape alive. Joey will figure some way to kill him. Joey will find somebody else to kill Marcel. Joey's going to have another henchman at some point. And Marcel's probably going to be that henchman's first victim. So that's what I got there. I think that it'll be fun to see Vanessa and Doug's kids. I saw some video yesterday on social media of the going away party for, they took him off the cast here. After he shot his final scenes, Doug, they had a going away party for him on the set. And, maybe he wasn't on long, but he was one of the cast members, one of the original cast members of the show. He's really the first major character to be killed off. The racist scumbag was killed off. He doesn't count. He was a scumbag. He was just there to be used for a second. Jason Graham is, you know, who portrayed him, and he seemed grateful that they were having a party for him in his last day. I suppose they're working on 13-week contracts here, like most soap operas do. We are in the later weeks. We are past the second 13-week contract, but we're in week 29. So, but actually that would be 26 maybe, because remember, there were 2 weeks where they were preempted. So he did 13 weeks, and that's it. And thanks to Jason Graham for a great portrayal of Doug. Like, he did some great work, because Doug was a mess, right? I mean, Doug was a disastrous mess. And he did a really good job portraying Doug. So those of us who are huge fans of Gates should thank Doug for the work that he did. Jason Graham. So he'll be missed. But bringing the twins on next week, that's going to be exciting. So we've got about 3.5 minutes left of today's show. We're going to open the time capsule. I had talked about this last week, that we were going to do a time capsule at the end of each show now. We're going to talk about a soap opera from the past. We're going to start with a daytime show, a show that I watched. I remember watching when I was a kid. It came on when I was 7. And I do remember watching the final episode and crying at the end. But today's time capsule is Ryan's Hope, called ABC soap opera Ryan's Hope. It aired from July 7th, 1975 to January 13th, 1989. It was created by Claire Levine and Paul Amelia Mayer. And, the show, its working title, before anything was filmed, when they were just creating it, it was City Hospital. And then they had this crazy name for a while. It was going to be called A Rage to Love. That's horrible. That's a horrible title. Of course, we were in the 70s. That's not a good title. And I'm glad they didn't go with it. They ended up settling on Ryan's Hope after Levine and Mayer decided they were going to add an Irish family to the cast, and there were like five characters, 6 characters of that family, and their bar they owned was the focal point of the show. The hospital kind of became a secondary thing. There were many doctors on the show, and nurses, but the Ryan's bar was the main place. And I guess we always would assume that the hospital was very close to the bar, because, the doctors and the nurses would go to the Ryan's bar after the work, and hang out at the Ryan's bar, and a lot of activity at the Ryan's bar. Johnny and Mae Ryan were the matriarchs of the family and the show, portrayed by Helen Gallagher was Mae Ryan, and Johnny Ryan was portrayed by Bernard Barrow. They played them the entire run of the series. And, they were immigrants from Ireland, and they had accents, and it was really good. Helen Gallagher and Bernard Barrow, man, growing up watching Ryan's Hope, I didn't know that they weren't real people. I thought Mae Ryan and Johnny Ryan were real people. if I ran into them somewhere, I probably would have been like, "Where's your accent?" I mean, they were really, they're great. Just two great characters, and proof that older characters can really matter on soap operas. And I think that's what Beyond the Gates does too. So then, we're going to go a little long today. We're going to go a few minutes extra. But some of the main characters on Ryan's Hope: Jack Finelli, played by Michael Levine. Mary Ryan Finelli. Oh, geez, Kate Mulgrew. She did a great job in that role. It was also portrayed by 4 other actresses: Yvette Dees, Mary Carney, Kathleen Tolan, and Nicolette Goulet. When Kate Mulgrew was leaving, she wanted them to kill the character off, and that probably would have been a good idea because the other actresses that played her were terrible. They just couldn't do the character justice like she did. But Mary Ryan Finelli was eventually killed by the mob when she was an investigative journalist. But then you had Patrick Ryan. Yeah, I was never really a fan of him. Frank Ryan, the do-gooder city councilman and then congressman, portrayed by several actors. Michael Hawkins was the first. Then Andrew Robinson, who's the father of Christian Slater, who also appeared on Ryan's Hope before he was famous. Delia Reed Ryan, she was Frank's wife. Woo, something. Man, she was always in some kind of trouble. She was portrayed by several actresses, 5, I believe. Eileen Christian was the best at portraying her, and then Robin Matson did a good job, but she wasn't on there long. The other 2 actresses that portrayed her, they, as I have in my notes, they were forgettable. Seneca Bolak was one of the doctors. I think there were 5 or 6 doctors at the beginning of the show. Dr. Seneca Bolak worked in the hospital, and he was portrayed by John Gabriel. John Gabriel was also the original professor on Gilligan's Island in the pilot. And then he was replaced by Russell Johnson. But then we have Siobhan Ryan. She was a really good character too. Portrayed, the main portrayal was by Marg Hilgenberger, and she was really good in that role. But I believe she left the role to be on China Beach, which was another role. I believe she won some awards for that role. But Siobhan was, involved with mobsters. She married a mobster. And then we get some villains on the show. Charlotte Greer, portrayed by Judith Chapman. Whoo, that was a good one. She wanted revenge for her parents for something. Maggie Shelby, she was just a tramp, portrayed by Callie Timmons. She basically married every guy on the show. Max Debujak, an international businessman who really was a creep. He married Siobhan at one point. He also played Naldo Marquetta on Dallas, and he was a creep on there. Naldo Marquetta was. And then Roger Coleridge, he just was a jerk, but he ended up being a nice guy by the end of the show. He settled down. He was Delia's brother. So, and then Ray Woodard, a businesswoman. She was, I guess, Frank Riot's fiance prior to the show, off screen. And she was pretty bitter. Her daughter, Kimberly, what a witch she was. Whoo! I remember what a witch she was. She was a rotten human being. And so it just was such a good show. And I'll never forget when I remember, I saw the end the other day. I was looking and I wanted to see some of the stuff that was, I wanted to remember. And so I did. And I remembered the final scene of Ryan's Hope when, she sang the song at the end. and Maeve, and it was beautiful. So I wanted a little bit in the background here. We'll go for a second. Let's close the show out today with the theme from Lion's Hope. Okay, we will play the theme from Lion's Hope, and let's do that right now. And we'll see you next week on Beyond the Gates Weekly Recap.